NHL DFS, FanDuel, and DraftKings lineup advice, November 1st, fantasy hockey analysis for tonight's main slate. I am Brian Jester, co-founder here at Occupy Fantasy. Welcome. I know we say this every time, but we're actually going to do a quick 10-minute video today breaking down tonight's slate, FanDuel, and DraftKings. We did this a couple of days ago and looked at it from a low risk perspective. And tonight, I think we can do that too, but we had some comments asking for people, asking us to look at the slate from a high risk perspective, GPP type plays, satellites, league plays. So we'll use our Occupy model tonight on occupyfantasy.com to take a look at some of the best plays if you are playing tournaments on FanDuel or DraftKings. If you're not already, please click that red subscribe button. Helps us out. Lets you know when our latest videos are released. We are doing these more frequently. And if you like the video, click the like button and comment below if you have any questions about tonight's slate, and we'll get back to them before the slate locks at 7 p.m. Eastern. One final thing, be sure to follow me on Twitter at BrianJesterFF and follow us on Twitter at Occupy Fantasy. So what you'll see here is our line stack dashboard in our Occupy model on occupyfantasy.com. Members only have access to the Occupy model. Memberships as low as $2 per week. And the even strength line stack dashboard ranks every stack on the slate. Lines 1, 2, 3 for each team. We also have the power play stack dashboard, which ranks each power play on the slate. Now, what I like to do is, same way we started our research on Tuesday, but when we released that video, is looking at the goalies tab of the Occupy model and looking at which goalies are in good spots, and then looking at the highest projected team totals according to the betting markets, and then seeing where our model agrees or differs from the betting markets. So as you'll see tonight, one massive favorite on the slate, the Carolina Hurricanes are minus 270. Pete Mrazek is the top goalie in the model because of that expected win percentage of 71%, 11% higher than the next closest goalie, Braden Holtby of the Caps. So Mrazek especially had his cheap price on FanDuel. FanDuel does not adjust for opponents or matchup, whereas DraftKings is pretty quick to adjust. And at 8K, Mrazek is on DraftKings one of the most expensive goalies, but on FanDuel, he's roughly middle of the pack at 7,500. So on FanDuel, it makes a lot more sense to start your lineups with Mrazek. DraftKings, there is some merit to not using him because of the price, but it's not like there are much cheaper guys rated below him. So if we look at opponent team totals, these are the implied totals as of about 10 o'clock Eastern. And remember, these team totals, these money lines, a lot of the movement starts to happen 11, 12, 1 p.m. Eastern once morning skates are in, once injuries and line changes are announced. We'll see some small line moves here in the morning after the initial lines open up, but generally what we want to do is wait until early afternoon before we get a sense of where the betting markets are moving in different games. But early on, and this is subject to change, but those same Carolina Hurricanes at minus 270 have the highest implied goal total, 4.24 goals. Capitals and the San Jose Sharks actually round out the top three, the top tier in expected goal totals tonight. So if we look over to our line stack dashboard, even strength stacks, we'll see, kind of unsurprisingly, that the top two lines, the Capitals and the Hurricanes, both expected to score a ton of goals tonight, are the number one and number two even strength lines. So if you are playing low risk tonight, again, if we were writing the daily plug for hockey this year, tonight's edition would say it's mostly a low risk night. Play the Capitals, play the Carolina Hurricanes, jam in Pete Mrazek at goalie, and then find some value around them. Very simple way to go about tonight's slate. But as always, we like to hunt satellite tickets, especially on FanDuel. I like to play tournaments personally. I know many of the people watching this like to play tournaments in 100-player leagues on FanDuel. So if we were to play a high-risk approach, let's say we put our money in low risk and we take a couple shots in high risk, what will we be doing? The first thing I see are the Buffalo Sabres at just a 2.57 implied goal total. Again, it's still early, but they do have a plus 0.1 goal total move already. Just at 10 o'clock in the morning, just after the lines open, Buffalo has already seen a pretty decent and healthy bump in their implied goal total. So I did some investigating. I wanted to see what this was about. I dug into the back end of the model where our 100 plus metrics go into all of the rankings. And I noticed that Buffalo as a team today, based on the matchup with the Capitals, as we see here, Brayton Holtby, number 2 rated goalie, and minus 165 favorite. This matchup with the Capitals, Buffalo actually has the second highest projected high danger chances tonight. If you're not familiar with that, go back and take a look at our intro to NHL hockey video where we talk about advanced analytics. Long story short, high danger chances are shot attempts that are right around the goal, off a rebound, off a quick shot, and Buffalo ranks really highly in that matchup tonight. They've been getting a good amount of high danger chances. Washington allows a good amount of high danger chances, and naturally high danger chances are more likely to convert into goals than shots from 20 feet out from net. So that matchup alone boosts Buffalo in our rankings, and just having that positive team total moving behind them makes them a pretty solid high risk stack tonight. And we know their top line can certainly score. We look here at the centers tab of the Occupy model. Jack Eichel, of course, is always near the top on line 1. And then we go to the wingers. Just look at Buffalo. You can pair Jeff Skinner, who's on that first unit power play, with Eichel, or you can go straight line 1 with Stan Reinhart, Victor Olofsson. As you've seen in projected ownership, we doubt they'll be that highly owned, even on an 8-game slate. So I think Buffalo is one of the first places I would look for high-risk lineups tonight. If we go back to the line stack dashboard, something else that I want to point out are the Capitals line 2. We talked about this a couple times in our previous videos where, many times line 1, especially those with studs on high totals, are very popular. Alex Ovechkin tonight, expect him to be very popular as having one of the highest totals, as being one of the most elite scorers in the league. However, we can save on ownership and still get access to a high total by dropping down to line 2. And as you see, out of the 48 lines playing tonight, the Washington Capitals line 2 actually ranks 7th overall. And if you look, especially on DraftKings, we get huge price savings. Their combined center winger to winger stack is just 14,800, 16,600 on FanDuel. Now, these are some of the cheapest stacks you'll find, and they're in a high upside spot. So, again, I wanted to do some more digging. I dug into the back end of the model, and not to give away too much of the secret sauce, but we like to give skaters bumps in the model. The OF index takes into account guys who have been getting a lot of shots on goal recently, guys that have been getting some blocked shots to add to that floor, especially on DraftKings where they're getting that bonuses this year. And they also look at expected goals. Now, kind of like air yards in the NFL, kind of like StatCast data in MLB, expected goals is a great way to look at, based on how a guy is currently shooting the puck, how many goals should we expect him to see. And guys with high expected goals, especially those who haven't actually converted yet for a variety of reasons, tend to get a pretty healthy bump in the model, because in these next coming games, the theory is if they continue to have an expected high number of expected goals, they're going to have a good chance at scoring actual goals. So Washington's lines 2, all 3 guys on that line rank extremely high in those metrics, and that's a big reason why Washington is getting this bump. So if we look at the Washington line 2 wingers, Tom Wilson, Jacob Vrana, mad cheap, 4,300, 4,900 FanDuel, nearly similar prices on DraftKings. And then Virginia Kuznetsov, line 2. So you get Kuznetsov, Wilson, Vrana, pretty cheap. And look at the price savings difference for Kuznetsov on DraftKings compared to FanDuel, 5,200 compared to 7,400. So that line 2 is a great way to save in high-risk contests, and maybe even in low-risk contests as well, given their price tags. So, promised this would be a 10-minute video. We're coming up on the 10-minute mark. Again, if you have questions about tonight's slate, drop a comment below, and I'll hop in and answer them before the slate locks at 7 p.m. Eastern. Let's go back to the goalies tab really quickly. And again, we will look for positive line moves later in the day. The Occupy model will be updated. The link is in the description below to have access to the Occupy model. Other teams that rank highly today that you can look at: Philadelphia Flyers, the New Jersey Devils, Vancouver's line 2, Tampa Bay's line 2. Tampa Bay's line 2 is different. Just wanted to point this out really quickly tonight because, as we like to say in high-risk contests, going 2 centers from the same line or 2 centers from the same power play can really differentiate your lineup. Not many people are playing 2 centers from one team, but Tampa Bay tonight, Braden Point, who's one of the top-rated centers in the model, is going to be lined up with Tyler Johnson, who's also a center. And then you compare them with Palat, who is pretty cheap and playing on that first unit power play, getting access to Kucherov and Stamkos. So great way to play Tampa Bay tonight too is line 2. Some differentiating in the type of lineup that you use with 2 centers. So just another thing to keep in mind. All right, that'll do it. Looks like a pretty easy low-risk night. If you want to take some high-risk shots, it's a great slate to do it. Generally, that sweet spot is 6 to 8 games for a slate, and tonight fits that bill. Lots of great satellites available on FanDuel. Be sure to read our ultimate guide, occupyfantasy.com, for the satellite strategy. Same strategy I use to take down the $1 million on DraftKings. And a final reminder to subscribe if you're not already. We really appreciate it, and you get notified of any time we make a great video. Click that red subscribe button below. Like this video if you like what we've done, and leave comments if you think we can improve this in any way or you'd like to see something else in the next video. So remember, occupyfantasy.com, the Occupy model, our real-time NHL player dashboard updates live as lines change, as goalies are changed, as betting odds move in the markets, and if any injuries occur, the NHL model updates live. So occupyfantasy.com, members only, access for as little as $2 per week. Follow me on Twitter at BrianJesterFF. Follow us at Occupy Fantasy. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with another video.